Good evening. This is Monday, November 21st, 2022. It is now about 6:03, and we are in the library program room at Library Plaza. We are being recorded for Marshfield Community TV. I got a different name now, but that's okay. Our agenda consists of the following. An appointment was scheduled for 6:15, but they will not be here tonight, so we will pass that by. Discussion and vote for the STM Article 14. The MVets are not here tonight at all, so with town council goes, we could have a brief rundown of where he sits with it, and I think after that, there's nothing more to say. I will have comments from either member of the board if they see fit. Likewise, the reaffirming the policy of water, sewer, and trash fees for veterans called to active duty. I forgot that had been incorporated into our regular hardship abatement, so we can just touch on that briefly and move right past it. Then we have a change order for the contract for 2022-07 for the force main. Are you doing that, Tom, or is Rod coming?
Rod will be here.
Okay, sorry. And then we're going to move the mattress recycling ahead and under discussion ahead of the employee hiring posting, just so that we can get Ken done on his Murray Little Way. And we have, which minutes did you want to pass over, Marie?
Oh, the ones for November 7th.
Okay, November 7th we're going to pass over. We'll have the October 17th, and then we will have an executive session to discuss pending litigation. We basically have a filing that has been sent to us that we can briefly review in the meeting. And our next meeting is scheduled for the 12th of December, 2022.
On the pending litigation, we won't be coming back to open session.
I'm sorry, good point, thank you. We will not be returning to open session, correct? Yeah, so, thank you.
I second that.
All right, so Bob Galvin told me he was on his way. He thought we were at the highway garage again, and that's him now, and him and Rob. So we can have our discussion on that. I believe the latest revisions of the license agreement you emailed around in, Marie?
Oh, I know.
The latest agreements?
Yes, they all have copies. Bob, I'm going to turn since the MVets are not going to be here tonight, just turn it over to you briefly to go through.
Sure. Just let me take my coat off.
Where you stand and where you see it going.
Yep. Okay, so the MVets representatives are Kerry Harrison and Amy Cook. Amy works at a law office, and Kerry's dad is one of the proponents of the articles. So I gave them the original license agreement. They had some objections, so we had a conference call today at about 10 o'clock via Zoom. And they were on there, we pulled it up, I asked them what they objected to, and they objected to well, number one, first of all, they thought that they would individually be responsible for indemnifying the town. I said, no, it's the post. It's not individual. So I agreed to make a footnote. They had some concerns over the scope of the indemnity. They had a couple of questions regarding the scope of an original paragraph 4. They produced for me the 2011 memorandum of agreement with the town, and they said many of the things they had done were all approved, so they wanted me to say affirmatively that what they've already done was approved, so I agreed to that. I thought that was fine. And they wanted the license agreement to relate to future improvements, which I thought was reasonable. So I rejiggered number 4 and rewrote it in a way I think we all agree. They thought that the original license agreement put too much liability on them. We had already talked about whether they needed to obtain insurance, and I did not feel strongly about the insurance thing. So I had already agreed to delete that. So we talked about this release issue. And they were not familiar with these Adopt a Island programs in other communities. And I literally just typed in one on my computer as I was on the Zoom with them, and I showed them the license agreement, the Adopt a Island agreements from Dennis, And I pulled up a couple of other, South Hadley and Swampscott, and a couple of other communities. And, you know, they were all contain this thing. They want people to know that it's kind of dangerous to work in the layout of a street. And they want people that, in all these other communities, they want people that are working there to understand that they could get hurt. You know, if they stepped off the island into an oncoming car, they could get hurt. And I literally said, well, would you agree to what the town of Dennis does? They asked them to not sue the town if, you know, they get hurt doing this. And they said, yes, they would, but they didn't like the original language. They thought it was too broad. So I literally duplicated the town of Dennis's language and incorporated it in. And I think they're gonna be okay with that.
Where is that incorporated?
It's the new number 6, John.
Yeah, all right,
The new number 6 is literally from the town of Dennis.
all right.
All right, and it's very similar to the language in a number of other communities.
Yeah,
Now-
I read Dennis, that's fine.
Yeah, so that's a good one. I deleted the insurance thing. I deleted a couple of other paragraphs that I didn't think applied, like the original paragraph 11 and 13. And then I just renumbered it. So I sent it back to them, both the highlighted one and the original one, or a clean one and the one with the highlights in it. And then they emailed me around 3 o'clock and they said that they wouldn't be able to give us a definitive yes or no tonight. But I think I did everything they asked me to do, and they were very nice. They were very forthright about their concerns. I don't want to impose any undue burdens on them. I told them that I really didn't know how much the water would cost. That's really up to the board to decide that type of
They're
issue.
paying the water bill.
Yeah, they're fine with that. I just didn't know how much they were going to actually pay. That's up to you all to decide.
Yeah, well, as it says at the moment in time, you know, they would be on tier 1, because we have equal rates all around for both, you know, all residential and small business, I believe. It's only, businesses have the same rate for the first tier,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah, so that, you know, and they use 12,000 gallons in the middle of the worst drought we've had in a number of years. So they would be under the first tier at 25,000.
Yeah, and I said, look, if there's a water main, you're going to follow the water main.
Yeah, well, I mean, that applies to any.
That applies to the whole town, though.
Right.
That just said.
We didn't say that. He just said that. It applies to everybody.
And look at, I mean,
So why bring it up?
the way the Adopt a Island program has worked, it's been very informal, which is not a bad thing, and I'm not suggesting that it is, but, you know, I think these days, you know, people sue each other because their coffee's too hot.
Well, I mean, and one of the concerns I would have, we just had a perfect example of
Yeah.
the Apple store
Yeah.
in Hingham, okay?
Yeah.
The guy, somebody just came crashing through at a high rate of speed, obviously, because
right.
you don't go that deep into a store and do that kind of
I
fun
heard you
damage
went
unless
into
you're
the back
blind.
room in that
Yeah,
place.
I mean, so the bottom line comes down, that can happen to virtually any of our
Well,
items.
you can hit the accelerator when you need to hit the brakes.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
Look, this program has been in place since 1991. We've never had an issue, and it's unfair. Kerry wanted me to send her a copy of the application from Mr. Egan signed or was in place in 2011,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize she was going to use it as part of this document. And I resent it, we've never had a problem, and it's unfair that it's being tied into what they're doing. And it's gonna interrupt this program. We've had people doing this for years and years on their own,
Yeah.
and we've never had a problem, and I have a problem with this, I'm sorry. That language should be taken out, and it should not be associated with it. They took the sign, that was an adopted island sign, and I told them, you adopted it, and you're out of the scope of what the island is for. And they went and did their own thing. It's not an adopted island anymore. And
Yeah.
this language should not be in here. I feel very strongly about this. I'm sorry, it's wrong.
So,
And it's unfair enough.
If I might, Bob, before you respond again, John, part of the reason I mentioned is under 12, the last paragraph, when you go to the next to last page, page 3, is the specific language in there about abiding by any bylaws, regulations, water restrictions, bans, etc. That's the only reason I mentioned it. That's the only reason I mentioned it. It's on the last part of 12. Turn to the next page.
yeah, what I thought was
That's
different,
why I mentioned it.
what I thought about was different about this island is,
Yeah.
the other islands in town are basically just planted islands. We have some landscaping. In this island, we have a fence, we have a flagpole, they want to have irrigation. I understand they want to do it, and if the board thinks that's okay, I'm okay with that. But I do think that, that it changes it a little bit from the way it's traditionally been looked at. And all I want is, if somebody steps off the island and steps into a car and gets hurt, I don't want them suing us, or else we'll discontinue the whole program.
I don't.
And that won't be good for anybody.
Well, Bob, they're labeling, I'm
Okay,
sorry, Dan.
okay.
I'm
I understand, your frustration with this, and the but is, every one of the other islands was approved and put forward under the DPW program by the superintendent and the administrator for the adopted island. I know because there were a few that came at me that were basically dead ends on cul-de-sacs, that I said, no, that's not an island, it's just where we have an easement for the water line going through, the sewer line
But it's
going
part of a
through.
beautification.
Well, and let me complete,
All right,
okay?
fine.
Okay. This has gone to town meeting and has been voted and approved by town meeting. That is what separates this island, in my book, from all the rest.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
And
So-
they've also called it a park.
No,
They
a garden.
have been calling it a park. It's conducive to people. They've set it up in a way that they want people to visit it. I went over there, I crossed the street, I took pictures, I did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it could be dangerous, Bob, crossing there, but they've changed the format of what it is. They call it a park and want people to visit it. And I had talked to Mr. Egan, and I said, if you want to find another spot, why don't you talk to the Veterans Office? I said, I'd help you, try and find another spot for your park. But by this time, they had already done all their thing.
Yeah.
And, it was beyond the scope of adopting island. And they
Yeah.
changed the
It
identity.
doesn't seem like it's a typical
Can I
adoption.
add something?
It's
Yeah.
not.
I want to add something.
Yeah, okay. You
Let
have
me
the
add
floor.
something. So could we do this, the top of the page 1 of this agreement?
Yeah.
The town of Marshfield license agreement with post number 1996.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
so that would be limited to that particular area.
Isn't that taken care of in the signature section?
Yeah, but if you want the title, I don't have a
Yeah,
problem
that's fine.
changing
I
that.
mean, I don't have a hang up with
It
it.
doesn't apply to all the other different adopted islands, that's what I'm trying to get at.
You can do that.
So it doesn't, this just applies to Plymouth and Ocean Street, Veterans Garden,
At this time, yep.
Yep.
so all your other islands are okay.
David, John,
Okay, so
that's-
Tom,
Yeah, Superintendent, wants word if you're set, John?
I just through you, Mr. Chairman, to Bob. So our current policy isn't worth the paper it's written on.
I don't think it's protective of your board and the town. Because it needs, there's two things that's missing. It needs, number one, to say, doing this can be dangerous. Because unfortunately, in this day and age that we live in, with people suing everybody, you have to tell people that something that's obviously dangerous is dangerous.
But if we go back to the original application that
Yeah.
Mr. Egan filled out,
I think you had 2 paragraphs.
he has violated everything on that agreement. There's no benches, there's no fencing. Everything on there has been violated.
Yeah.
And I have discussed this with the veterans agent.
Yeah.
And she's in agreement that this is not a veterans park.
Yeah, I
That
understand.
if they have violated our agreement for Adopt an Island, then they should be, then their application should be revoked.
Okay, well, I mean, that's really up to you all to decide what to do there. I don't think we should call it a park. It's an island in the middle of a public way. And if they're doing things that you think are too risky, then we may have to tell them that you gotta remove the bench, or you gotta do something. I mean, I don't think it's a great idea that the public should go and sit there in the middle of a traffic island. I think it's a beautiful traffic island, though, and I think they take care of it better than probably any other island. And,
No, it's
I
beautiful.
know Ken Rand, when he was alive, took really good care of the end of Webster Street. There's a few that are better than others, and that one's probably the best. But I don't think it's a park, and I don't think we should.
it's a garden, it was, at town meeting, it's called a garden.
I'm okay with it being a garden. I just don't think it should be like a place where we actively encourage people to sit out there, because someone could get hurt.
So would it make sense to
Tell them to
relinquish
remove the bench.
responsibility of that park from the DPW and put it on somebody else? Because it's a violation of our policies.
I mean, I think you guys have done a tremendous job as a board administering the Adopt a Island program. I've never heard a single person complain about how you've administered the program. I think you should continue to administer it unless you don't want to. If there's an aspect of what the Veterans Group is doing there that is inconsistent with what you think is fair or reasonable, tell me what it is, and I'll tell them that that aspect of it has to go away.
Well, the majority of their area would disappear if that was the case. They'd have to get rid of the fence, they'd have to get rid of the benches.
Is the fence a
They'd have to
problem?
get
Yes.
rid of the, yeah, it's in the line of vision.
Well,
It was
you know,
approved by Kevin Filer.
Kevin Filer removed it?
No, he approved it.
No, he didn't.
No. How do you
Well,
know?
They removed because I was involved.
Look, Amy and Kerry were perfectly polite on the phone with me today. They said that everything that's been done in there has a written approval. That's what they told me. Okay. Well, look, if something is, if you're pulling down the end of Plymouth Avenue and you're taking a right, and there's a fence that's obstructing your view, then the fence has to be brought back so that it doesn't. If it doesn't, you know, I mean, I know enough about this because I just did this up in Milton. They're talking about a 40B there, and it's at the bend in the road, and you can't see very far. If anything that's there is blocking the line of sight, then that stuff has to be pulled back. But I think we would be better off asking them to modify what they have there, rather than just tell them to pull it all out. I personally don't think it's a good place for people to be sitting in a traffic island. Because I don't think we would want people sitting in any traffic island. So if you want me to tell them to pull the bench out, or...
Those benches are memorials to the
Yeah,
vets
I know.
who passed away.
I
I wouldn't
know.
go down that route.
Well, I think,
Well, I mean, you guys decide, I don't care.
I wouldn't go down that route to remove a memorial for the veterans.
Okay.
We gotta just,
You all decide what you want me to tell them, and I'll tell them whatever you tell them.
I think what we should.
I don't think it's a great idea, but it's up to you to
What we
decide.
should do is have the safety officer look at this.
Okay?
And it's up to a safety officer to decide if the fence is a problem. But I think also, we should discuss this tonight, but not vote on it, table it to our next meeting so that we can go back and forth with Bob, with Amy and
Kerry.
Ms. Kerry.
Yeah.
well, the only reason it was on for discussion and vote was that was their request at our last meeting,
Okay,
if you
so
recall.
we can-
And then they pulled out tonight, which is why it's here. I agree that this should be moved forward and tabled until the next meeting.
Do you want me to have the safety officer go down and take a look at the island?
Yeah, but if I recall correctly, I had talked to Jim Jackson. And because one of the questions I asked is any practicality for putting in crosswalks. And the safety officer at the time said, no, they can't, because A, there's no sidewalks, B, the lines of sight for people coming around the corners from Plymouth Avenue, from Ocean Street onto Plymouth Avenue are limited and would create an issue. And that plays into the concern that Tom has just espoused, which basically is, you have, you don't really want somebody sitting there as a target if you can help it. I think we can put a restriction on it that basically it's, you're not, it's not an area for sitting and waiting for any length of time. People come and go on islands.
I
So they make
understand
this all
the
the time.
flagpole there, and as long as the flagpole doesn't obstruct traffic, I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I think
I
the
mean, I
only,
don't think you want people having picnics in the traffic island.
now, I mean, I would be curious to request when you're having a conversation with her, who was providing the written permissions that she
Well,
referred to?
It sounded to me like Kerry was suggesting that her father got written permission to do everything that's been done on it.
And again, from whom?
I don't know.
Nobody has given written permission
Well,
other
I mean,
than the
but-
signing of the application for the Adopt a Island.
Well, the only thing I can picture is they might have talked to somebody else about something, other than us, like police department or somebody else for all we know. And we wouldn't necessarily hear that from the police department all the time.
Well, I think John's suggestion is a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Why don't we have the safety officer go out and say, look,
Right.
are anything that's been done here a problem for traffic?
Right.
And if there's a problem, I mean, that's kind of the end of the story for those
Well,
things.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the safety officer had to move the sign, welcome to Fieldstone,
Right.
that sign.
It had to be moved.
Yeah.
They moved that back. They had
Okay.
take it out and move it back.
Yeah,
So, at the time, the safety officer, I believe, was Kevin Filer,
It was,
all right? And so, the fence was there. I'm not saying the fence is okay. Let's have the safety officer look at the whole thing
yeah.
and,
Tell us what's a problem, what isn't a problem.
right.
Okay.
They also removed the stop sign and the street sign and were told by the safety officer they had to be put back.
Okay, stop sign in a,
No.
They removed the street sign and the stop
They didn't
sign. They
remove-
took them right out of the ground.
They did
And we
not.
had to go back and
Let him
replace.
finish, and then you can reply.
Did not. I was involved with the street sign. I was involved with the street sign. I asked Jimmy
Jimmy
Kent.
Jackson had to take it, had to put it back up. because they
is the stop sign and street sign there today?
Yes.
Okay.
They were put back in their original.
All right, so they're not to be removing,
Right. They
Public
can't remove signs.
signs.
Can't remove
They
traffic.
didn't remove that sign.
Yes, they did. Joe.
No, they didn't. Jimmy Kent,
I'm
I wish Jim, I know you're not gonna argue with me. Jimmy Kent, I called him, and he had the sign moved. He had the street sign moved to the other side, no problem.
well, they're not gonna argue with you about that.
No.
These two women that I'm dealing with, they're not gonna argue about that.
No, I mean, I'm just
There is no argument.
pointing out a fact. So you go
We
ask
had,
Jimmy
we had
Kent.
to go and put the stop sign back in its original place after
Okay.
it was moved by them.
All right.
They did not move it.
All right, John. Thank you.
Okay, so, does the board have any thoughts about this bench thing?
No benches.
Oh, come on, those are memorial benches.
Well,
Jesus, give me a
I mean,
break.
I agree, I mean, when they were here last week, I had said I would be in favor of doing the irrigation, you know, but I was very concerned about public safety.
yeah.
And the issues that were discussed here were all about public safety. So, I mean, you know, especially in light of accidents that happen in the middle of roadways. Well, why are we going to put anybody in harm's way if we as a board can avoid it?
We just agreed to have the safety officer look at
So
this.
we'll have the safety officer look at it.
But
But
that-
I went down there, and that fence is clearly, in my mind, a obstacle in the line of the sight of oncoming traffic.
Depend on how tall your car is.
And I'm not sure how far back you can put it other than eliminate it, because, I mean, it does block either way you go.
Let the safety officer decide.
Well, from the perspective of memorial benches, the hazard there is not so much line of sight or anything else per se.
Yeah.
It's the fact that somebody might be sitting there when a vehicle decides it's going to go through the island. And that, well, John, you can say that, but we just had a perfect example of Derby Street.
Well, could be.
You know, I mean,
Hypothetically speaking.
what I was going to suggest is that we look at it and we talk with, the proponents of it to see if there is a different way in which to conduct that memorial. Because if memory serves me, all of the memorial language is on the backstops of the benches themselves, the backrest, not on the seats themselves. Which means you could have them in a different
I mean-
form where they wouldn't encourage people sitting there and loitering.
Perhaps we could find another location, if they are willing to have them at another location, where they might be more prominent, I don't know.
Maybe we need another article at the town meeting, and I'll write
What's down here?
that they'll allow benches.
You
So
know,
try and talk against it at town meeting.
Okay.
we can sing, start bang on banner again too. I mean, the bottom line is that if you don't get what you wear, you're gonna go to town meeting.
That's right.
And at the end of the night, when there's only 50 people there,
Yeah.
out of 17,000 voters in this town,
Right.
you just get your way. That's
voted-
crazy.
You voted against them, so we know how you voted.
As far as I'm concerned, this is a Board of Public Works
Right.
issue, it's not a town meeting issue, it never was.
Will be.
Okay.
There's
So
nothing with
my
prevention from bringing
marching
it up.
orders are, I'm gonna contact the safety officer, have him go down the island.
Yeah.
I'll have him write up a report, I'll give it to you all.
Thank you.
And then we'll know what improvements, if any, are a problem for safety.
And I would ask you to copy the proponents on his
Yeah.
comments as well.
I'll notify them tonight
Thank you.
in writing that we're gonna have the safety officer at the board's request, go
Yeah.
down and take a look. Do you want me to press the issue of the written approvals?
I don't know who gave them any approvals. It didn't come from DPW.
Yeah, the only one they produced to me was the 2011 one that Anne Marie was speaking about.
Okay,
No,
but that's,
I'm aware of it.
that has specific criteria that the islands are supposed to have, and they have more than that. So
Right.
that is not a written approval. If he got written approval from somebody else, and he can say who that person is, it would be nice to know that.
All right, honestly, I think the rest of it gonna be okay with that.
Okay.
So let's get that done, and then we'll come to your next meeting, and hopefully we have an agreement.
And just, would you mind knocking the camera off for just a minute? I want to go in a brief executive session.
If
You
if
can't-
you don't have it on the agenda,
Yes, we do have executive session on the
Oh.
agenda.
But that's for litigation.
Not on this, not on this subject.
That's for
Not on this
litigation.
subject.
No, I'm not-
Well, no, I just want to, since
I'm
we
not
have,
go- I am not going to go into executive session.
no, not on this, on the PFAS.
this is about the PFAS. We have it on the agenda for
So before we.
the last item, but I just...
No, wait a second, before we go into
All
that.
right, keep going.
I
The
never
question I
said
have to
anything
town
like this
council
in my life.
about the Adopt the Island program is what people sign, we need to modify that.
It's not standard language anymore for an adopted island.
So do we have language that we can actually use, that we can modify?
Yep.
So as the program moves forward, we can,
For your adopted island memorandums of agreement,
Yeah,
I would only add one thing, just warning people that it's potentially hazardous, and number two, asking them not to sue us if they do it.
okay, so can we get
That's fine.
language, we can add that to it?
I'll give you the two paragraphs, and you can add it to
Okay,
the adopted
that
island
sounds good.
agreements.
That's all I have to say about that, because I'm very concerned about public safety.
Okay. And just briefly, but, be careful, it's open session. The filing that we're going to be looking at in executive session tonight, I presume you have no particular issues with it as written? Okay.
Nope.
That's all I wanted to ask. Okay. I'm all set with Mr. Galvin, if you folks are.
So we're going to move this to our next meeting?
This is, table till the next meeting.
Yep, and I'll plan to come.
There's no urgency for this either, so okay. it doesn't-
Looks like we're
Right,
pretty
it's
good
not like
for
you're
the spring.
irrigating anything right now.
Yeah, this is all about irrigation, that's how it started.
Yep.
I don't know why we got into all this stuff.
Well, it's actually a good thing you did, because your adopt island document isn't as protective as it could be, you know? And you should want to update it. It's time.
Yeah, well, let's get the one down at the jetty done, Molly Park
I
done,
think they'll all be the same going forward.
yeah.
I mean, you've seen the other ones, I provided you the ones that I've been asked to create.
We got two contractors down at the Harbor Master Building.
You told me about that.
Right,
This is the first I heard that they were even
the
doing
big
it.
sign. It's a big
First,
sign.
I heard they were even doing it. I'm glad you brought it to my attention, because we'll have agreements with them too.
Yeah, yeah, and the Kiwanis that took care of Harbor Park, they had no agreement.
I don't know what the deal is there. I know that there is a deal
For
for
what about
the,
Kiwanis?
I know there is a deal for the skate park, because I drafted that.
Yeah, no, they'll talk about Harbor
I
Park.
don't know what the deal is.
We got Molly Park.
I think they
We
volunteered to
got
take care of it.
Kiwanis with Santa Claus coming in December 3rd. Do we have an agreement there? Someone might get hurt.
Well, hopefully no one will be standing in the landscape garden down there.
Well, hopefully no one will get hurt at the vets either.
I
You know,
hope
if they
not,
sit on
because
the
right
bench-
now, I don't like our position.
So I have one question, do we have an agreement with Brant Rock Village Association for Brant Rock?
We've only had it with the jetty, not with the Brant Rock Village Association.
I reached out to Bob Marzella to see if anything had ever been done during his tenure as town council. Because I was thinking that perhaps going back to when Dave Jean was on the select board at the time, something might have been done at that point. And he had no recollection of it. So it may go back further, it may just have evolved without
The
any...
Esplanade, I think, is a distinct situation. I mean, that's actually a very large area. And I wouldn't say this about most traffic islands, but that was probably big enough for somebody to actually sit down in.
No, for consistency purposes, we should have a policy that encompasses stuff uniformly.
I agree.
Okay.
Typically, the jetty one has been involved in Christmas tree.
Right, it's just their activity in the island itself. Yeah.
That's right.
So that's kind of like the subcontractor reference you have in here,
Right,
holding harmless.
that's right.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
all
You all
right.
set? Yeah.
Okay.
All set, Bob?
Thank you, everybody.
Tom, you all set?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good night.
Have a good evening. Off to your 6:45.
Yeah, thank you. Talk
Happy
to you.
Thanksgiving.
Yep, and yes, if we don't
You
see
too.
you between
Happy
then and now,
Thanksgiving.
have a nice Thanksgiving.
See, Mike Valenti says hi, Tom.
Oh, great. Yeah, I saw him last Thursday.
Junior or senior?
Senior. I saw him today.
Okay. The next one is the vote to reaffirm, and this is a senior moment on my part. I forgot that we had rolled
I got to pass it.
the veterans abatement policy into the hardship policy that we had previously had, so we can defer that, you know. It is one we worked on, it's still in the same format, basically. If you're below a certain senior enlisted or officer ranks with the right number of years of service, you get the abatement, so there's no reason not to continue that.
The one for 75%,
I'm sorry?
this military?
Right, yeah. Basically, we're deferring that to when we reaffirm all of it, the whole policy.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because we usually do that after we know what the new federal guidelines are for the hardships for the low income.
Yeah, but the military.
The military won't change. Yeah.
Stay the same, okay.
Yeah, I
You're
put
right.
a lot of time in on that with Bill Dodge.
Okay.
Okay, Rod, you're up, I think, 2207 contract for Plymouth Force Base.
Thanks, Rod.
The Kelleher's opted not to come. Sorry, Bob, I should tell you that right. Thank you. You guys.
I got a call from Clint Stetson, the wastewater operator, and he wanted to move on Island Street, that piece of Maine that Denise had given us a proposal on. We didn't have the funding at the time. In a town meeting, we got the funding. I'd like to add it to their contract that we currently have with them. It's $106,300. It's for 165 feet of deteriorated 12-inch diameter AC pipe. We'll replace it with SDR 35 PVC sewer pipe, and they can do the work early in December, I was told. So we should be able to get in and get out of there, hopefully. Their estimate was $106,300, and I think they did a pretty good job on Second River, as well as the force main work that they did, and recommend that we authorize a change order to that contract to get this work done.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Cusick, any questions?
No, I'm fine, I understand what needs to be done.
Mr. Shaughnessy?
No issues.
Okay. I'll read the motion. Motion to authorize change order number 3 to contract 2022-07 with N. Granese and Sons of Salem, Massachusetts, in the amount of $106,300 to repair a section of sewer line in Island Street. The chairman or designee authorized to sign the change order when the documents are prepared. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but we also had requested Denise to give us a proposal to do some work in Surf Ave. Now, they didn't, I've been waiting for this, that's why I'm waiting to find out what.
Okay. But that is not included.
That's not included in this. I wanted him to get going on this on Island Street.
Okay.
We've got weather coming in, you never know, we knock that out. It might be something the board may consider. We've got 9 connections that are in Surf Ave. It's the AC pipe that branches out. Basically, we want to replace the AC pipe that is within the layout of the road. For all those, all the crossroads that go in there. I think there's 10, but we've already done 1 replacement already. So it would get the AC out of there when we go in and repave the road and rebuild the road. And we're hoping to do that before Dig comes in the summer or in the spring and does the water main replacement. The gas company is wrapping up. They're still in there doing work, but they're wrapping it up, and it might be an opportunity. We are running over 30% right now on extending their contract. The rule of thumb is somewhere in the 25-30% range. So I don't know. I can check with town council on his opinion on it. I'll ask him. But I just wanted to feel out your. Otherwise, we should put a bid out and rebid the work.
It's time critical though.
It's time critical, but
Well,
this is more time critical than what you voted tonight.
Right.
That was a priority.
I have one question when you're done.
I'm done.
Was that one?
Yeah.
Okay. The question I have is, we're talking about replacing the connections within the layout of the roadway, removing the asbestos cement pipe.
Right.
Now, I'm presuming the majority of the houses there were done at the same time as that. In most cases, the connection was continued in, I think by the contractor, if I recall correctly, back when all of that was being installed, looking back at the records when I sat in the Chair Thompson thing. And, is this going to be something where the contractor would be willing to, replace the thing for the individual homeowners on their money, not ours, obviously? That's a question I'd like you to ask.
I don't think so.
Okay.
They're not gonna do it on our dime, or their
What's
dime.
this, the connection to the houses?
Once you enter the property, it becomes the ownership of the resident, the line if it fails, just like the water line.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, we're coming off the new SDR 35 and stopping and connecting it to old AC, what may be AC pipe, may not be AC pipe. And to my mind, that leaves us with a potential branch leakage every time you do that.
So the pipe you're talking is in the layout of the road?
Right,
The T that goes to the house?
right.
Usually it was PVC, it was, four or six.
The ones on second row were PVC,
Yeah.
but not all, were they all? Yeah, I think they all were
Yeah, they're all
on second.
PVC.
They're all
I don't
PVC,
know
okay,
if
then
these
I
it's
know
not
a
issues.
lot of those connections.
Okay, well then you would live with, okay.
Yeah.
And that
I'll
satisfies
check,
my.
I'll check that, that's part of,
Yeah,
that'll
we
be
should.
part of the decision-making process, but if they're all AC, we've got almost to do, basically. If we're gonna go with.
We want to get into replacing services. That's an additional cost to the
Right.
to the existing contract. In a perfect world, we'd love to have a clean out right on the property.
And we would do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
If we
there's
could.
an added cost added to the already shot.
Right. Yeah, We're not rich on funds for that. so-
Right.
Yeah, but if it's PVC already, then
But
we should be okay.
We have a clean out on the, before it goes into the
Right.
house. We already have a clean out. I did a lot of these.
Okay.
It was always, I think it was 6-inch PVC.
Some of them have them, some of them don't.
I thought I saw some corners there too, but I don't want to swear to that.
We used, the new policy is, for new houses, we put them on the property line. A clean out on the property line. So
Oh, yeah.
some of them have them on the property line, some of them don't now. And we are.
Well, it was part of the code at the time when I was doing them. You had to have a clean out
Yep.
somewhere in that line before you connected to the existing sewer.
I'll take your
I
word for it.
mean,
The most of them
we had an inspector to come by and make sure you wouldn't get paid.
Okay, well, you can get the answers to that question when you come back to it.
Okay.
I think before you stepped in, Bob, I wanted to move the mattress recycling ahead of the employee hiring position and the discussion, just so that we can get Ken out of here as well.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Are you okay with that? Just to put
Yeah,
that-
go ahead, yeah.
Ken, you're up.
Okay, so we've been recycling mattresses for a while at the transfer station, and we've been using one particular vendor. As of November 1st, the DEP officially declared that you can't throw out mattresses anymore, you have to recycle them. So our vendor apparently used that as a good time to let us know last Monday that instead of doing the mattresses for $10 a piece, he was going to charge $35 a piece. So that kind of,
What a wonderful time.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but, so what I've been doing is going and finding other vendors and looking at different costs, and they do them different ways. You know, right now, we store them in a shipping container, and actually the vendor grabs them out of the shipping container, puts them in a box truck, takes them away. There's one vendor out there who actually just takes the whole shipping container away and gives you another one. There's others who do similar to what we do now. So I'm running through all the different numbers. I just wanted the board to know that it's going to hit at some point in time. I would say we'll keep going what we're doing right now in December. We'll take a little bit of a loss, a little bit of a hit in December, but in December I'd like to finalize a new agreement with somebody, and then we're going to have to increase the prices.
What's just the rate on that?
Instead of $20, it's probably going to be more like $35 a piece. You know, the 35 that our current vendor is charging is 35 plus transportation. So his would be even like over 40 by the time it's all
Right.
said and done. So I just wanted the board to know about it because at some point in December, we're gonna have to go and increase the prices.
I saw that coming.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Tom?
No, Ken's done a great job doing the research on this. We've been doing the mattress, as you know, this board voted back last summer. We started the program ahead of most communities, so we've been doing very well.
And actually, just because of the conversation I had with Ken while he's here, we actually have the lithium-ion recycling program up and running with the containers and separation, avoid fire, so.
Yes.
I haven't seen us put much notice on that out on anything on the websites.
Well, it's no different for the residents coming in. It's just when they come in, we take them from them and then we
I'm
bag
not
them.
sure everybody knows that we will take the lithium-ion batteries.
No, I believe it's still on the website.
You do? Okay, thank you. Right, I'm good with it.
Did you get my lab information?
I did not.
What, did you get my
I
lab?
saw it, yeah.
Can you send it to him?
Yeah, you can, yeah. Was that a bid, three vendors?
Yeah,
It's just, it's a
it's a state contract.
master agreement with the state. Kept bouncing back, I could probably get your email.
I guess I have to take that block off of you, so.
Probably
It's
good
okay,
idea.
whatever.
Okay.
I've been blocked by a lot of people.
Okay. This next item was yours, John. Exactly what are you looking to do here?
I'm looking to find out the policy we have for hiring. I'm not too sure if we need a new superintendent after December 31st, 2022. So can you give us an update?
I don't think you need a new superintendent after December 31st. If you read my email, I asked that we consider hiring somebody towards the end of the year so that we could have some time, 6-month time period to train with somebody. But I've reconsidered my decision, and I'm planning on seeing the building completed before I make any decision on the rest of my career.
So you're retracting the letter you sent to the board?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
So I have a question on
Where
it.
where we're at.
Just
I
to
have a
show us.
question. A few years back, way back, Dan, when were you hired?
14, February 14.
Probably like 12 or 13, we had a policy that we had discussed, I'm not sure if it was written or not, that the board was only interested in senior level positions, like deputies, head of water, head of sewer, head of engineering, that kind of stuff. And then below that, it was really staff's policy.
Right, the charter states that the board has the responsibility for hiring me,
Right.
the superintendent, I should say, excuse me, but, and then all other hiring is the responsibility of the superintendent.
I understand that, and I thought that we had a discussion back in 10 years ago, that we
I
concur
think,
with the superintendent on senior level hiring.
was that to have on all senior level hiring, to have a...
No, we wanted to
member of-
limit it.
Right, but to have a member of the board on that interview team?
Yeah, basically,
Right, I remember discussing.
because I sat with you
Mike
when we hired
Valenti
Dan.
sat, Mike
Yeah.
Jr. sat with, I think he might have sat in on it too. Did Mike Valenti sit on yours? Mike Valenti Jr. did?
Mike?
Yeah.
No, it was not Bob
It was
Shaughnessy.
just Bob?
You, Bob, and Barbara Costa.
Okay.
Yeah, there was 3 of us.
Good old Barbara.
So that's why I remember that we had a discussion back then, that would be, that we didn't want to go any lower than that.
Right,
We wanted to keep just at the key components.
yeah.
So I'm not sure if we ever put anything in writing.
I don't think we did. We just agreed as a group
Okay,
that a member of the board would sit on an all-senior
So I think I still think it's a good idea.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, and the only senior replacements we've had have been the musical chairs for the superintendent. And also, you know, the replacement of the deputy superintendent for operations. Subsequent to that. So. Okay, right now, we can just say status quo ante, I guess.
Yes, please.
Okay, if everybody else is okay with that, I am.
Till, yeah, but till what time? You're staying through your contract, so.
Right now, I will.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Then we are on to our minutes, Anne Marie. And we have minutes of, which tab you put it in? There we go. Tab number 6. Passing over to November 7th. With these online, I mean, the email, I'm good with them.
Oh, yeah, I know this. Okay.
Any questions or comments?
No, that's good.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. I move to
awful thick.
I know, like a book.
I move to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2022. It was held at the Marshfield High School auditorium prior to town meeting. Second. Favor? Aye. Okay, let's go into executive session. In the executive session, did Cal, I'm sorry, Superintendent. Yeah, actually, I do want to, a couple comments for Tom, so go for it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, just want to give you an update on some of the projects that we got going, Surf Ave. The gas company's finishing up, and as Rod mentioned to you, we're looking at the possibility of doing some sewer work before the water main and drainage project starts. And the Island Street sewer main, that's a deep cut into the road there, so having a contractor do it makes a lot of sense. Circuit Ave water main is getting close to completion up there. I think we just say another 300, 400 feet to do up there. So that one's coming along. Webster Square has pretty much been done. The striping for the parking will be done in the spring. There's a little bit of drainage work to be done over there. The curb is pretty much all done, right?
Yes.
Sidewalk's done. Allerton drainage, we got a little lucky down there and found some corrugated metal pipe that was corroded, but only a small section of it, so the RCP, they still have to jet it and get it clear, but that's, there isn't as much involved there as we originally planned, originally thought. Rockwood Road, the shade shelter pad has been poured. The shade shelter is due to come in on December 13th and will be assembled once it comes in. We're going to wait on the walkway till the spring because there's some drainage work that's going to come down on that area there for the school that's out and back through the easement that we gave for Rocky. Tower Ave fencing will be completed within the next 2 weeks, and that will complete the project at Tower Ave. Basketball courts up, and the lines have been painted. The fence will just close up the park from anyone being able to access it with a motor vehicle. Some grant awards, a small bridge program. We were initially awarded $100,000 to do some design work. Rod had put in a request for an additional $250,000. The state awarded us $219,582 to complete the design for Willow Street Bridge, and the town will be responsible for about $125,000 in permitting. We also received a grant from the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program for $23,400 to be used for a number of recycling and trash initiatives. So we'll be working on that. Paving has begun at milling Highland Street, and Oak Street will be milled today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. They'll be paving beginning next Monday.
Oh, good, temperature will be over 50.
Yeah, and also, we're waiting on the gas company to finish up on Surf Ave because we've got a section of Ocean Street there from Adams Street back to Mayflower that we're going to be milling and paving there, that intersection of Plymouth and Ocean Street. Some new equipment, we received our new excavator at the it's solid waste transfer station. That's a godsend because we've been using the 160 because the Volvo had broke down and we weren't able to use it. Cemetery Trees and Greens got the 1-ton dump truck. Highway just got their new 1-ton dump truck. We're waiting on the 2 sidewalk tractors that we ordered, and I don't know when we're going to get that. We were able to order both. At town meeting, we were given an additional funding to purchase 2 water trucks. The utility truck with the crane has been ordered. We were having a little bit of issue with getting the replacement for 184 because all the manufacturers aren't pricing the 23 model, the 24 models, I should say, and we don't even know what the pricing is yet. So, but we were able to find one to replace 184, so it worked out pretty good. The original appointment this evening, the Callahers from 307 Plymouth Ave. I had a conversation with mosquito control at our meeting last Thursday. They would prefer to wait until the ground is frozen, and because that was one of the problems they had when they were here earlier this year, was the ground was too wet and that they couldn't access some of the areas. So they're hoping for the ground to freeze. We're also working with the airport to use their equipment. The mosquito project is very excited about having the opportunity to use that equipment. So we're working with them, but we need to work with mosquito control because that's the only way that conservation will allow us to go in.
But they will do the work.
They will, as long as we work off of the letter, off of mosquito control's exceptions. So we'll be able to do that.
Did you communicate with them today about getting the letter done?
I was in communication with them last week.
Okay, and they're doing the letter? Or
They're going to do the letter.
They're going to do this, okay. We don't have a time certain when it's going to arrive then?
No, not yet. But that was what Bill, before
Brad.
Bill left, him and I had discussed this,
Right.
and he thought that was the best way to proceed rather than go through a number of conservation meetings.
And we haven't had any additional pushback in any way, shape, or form from Mike Seeley or from the
No,
Conservation
nothing
Commission
yet.
itself? Okay.
Nothing yet.
Good.
Also, I received a letter, an unsigned letter. Normally, I don't pay attention to a letter that someone can't put their name to. But it was in reference to town vehicles and taking them home.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. So all these we saw
Right,
a
received.
receipt of it. But, you know, majority of the vehicles that go home are people on call. The foreman, the water on-call person, the wastewater on-call person. These people have to respond immediately to any call that comes in. So it's part of their job, so that's one of the reasons why they take them home. The majority of them live in town, so they're not traveling. I get a vehicle to take home, it's contractual. But anyone that's on call 24/7 gets it, usually has it, that's on the on-call list, takes a vehicle home when they're on call. Winter months, tree calls, it depends on the season too. A lot of them don't take the trucks home. But at this time where we haven't had a facility for 2 years and there's not a lot of space where we are right now, it doesn't hurt for some of these guys who live in town that take them home. It actually benefits us because it's less cars, personal cars in the parking lot during the day when we don't have room. And it's vehicles that they can respond to emergency right away.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, we've been down this road many times in the past 20 years. I mean, every time you turn around, someone thinks someone's getting something for nothing, but it's really part of their job. And really, it's time-sensitive response needs to be done. And if they don't have the truck there, they have to go pick up the truck, warm the truck up, get it going, and then it's like, it doesn't make sense.
I mean,
Emergency is emergency.
Normally in the past, we'd let the foreman take the trucks home, but this year, not all of them were able to take them home. We did restrict it. When the gas prices were high. So not all the trucks went home, it was just the on-call.
And, we are in the season for quick response. I mean, to my mind, a delayed response with the wrong situation in either water or wastewater, whatever gasoline savings we recognize is going to be burned up in a heartbeat. Having spent much of my life as an emergency on-call person working for utilities, a delayed response is usually more costly than the call vehicle going home. And I think it's important to note, they're not allowed personal use of the vehicle when they're home. It's strictly to and from the job site,
That's
on
it.
call.
Yeah, you can't go down, pick up your motorcycle or...
No, yeah, I mean, you can't even stop at the supermarket,
No.
You get your vehicle, you go home and get your own personal vehicle.
So, yeah, I mean,
But the last thing I would like to mention, which is very important, is the wastewater electric feed to the main lift into the plant. There's a shot in the line. Mike Pizek has been dealing with Eversource on this. At first, Eversource told us that it was on us, and then Mike actually spoke to somebody that realized it's theirs. So they're going to be out first thing in the morning to address this. We have staff staying tonight. We're running on generator right now, and staff will be on site overnight to monitor the generators.
So is that an underground feed? So you had to pull a new line?
Yeah, 2 of the feeds are good, the third, it's 3
One
phase,
phase
the
with that.
third one is the shot somewhere in the third.
Yeah, but
That happens.
yeah, it happens, but the bottom line, the main lift is not the main lift, the main plant itself is where they're having the issue, not at the main lift, correct?
No, it feeds both, but they're gonna be running both generators.
Okay, so they're having to run the other generator.
My understanding is that the power comes into a transformer that's actually at the plant,
Right.
and then it feeds back
Distributes, right, it
to
gets
the
dropped down to
main,
480. Yeah.
but it goes back to the main pump station,
Right.
so it's before the transformer, so
Okay,
everything's
so
out.
it was only 35 kV, actually, I'm sorry, in that area, it's on, I think, 4 kV feed coming in there. Okay.
So,
And I know it was on the generator when I stopped down to see Anne Marie this afternoon. Yeah.
So for us who are simple-minded, there are 3 lines, three feeds that go in to the conduit. One of the 3 is bad. Are they going to replace that one, or are they going to replace all 3?
They're gonna have to do some investigation in the morning.
And it all goes from the road out.
Goes from the
Then up to the
transformer
rise, it
out
comes
to
down to
the
the rise.
telephone pole, down the road to a riser and goes up.
Yeah.
So it comes all the way from Ocean Street, all the way down Dryback Way, all the way to the plant, and it's somewhere along Dryback Way where there's a problem underground.
Okay, so
It's
this
3
may
phase, so
take
one of the
some
lengths
time to get it pulled back.
short.
It
This
may
is
be
not,
piece of
this is not a
three-phase.
small issue.
No.
No.
No. Thank God we have generators.
Yep.
Otherwise,
Maybe
Thank
that when it
thank
first
God
got-
it's their issue,
Right.
so that if they have to dig up the road or they need to provide us emergency generators, that's all on them.
Well, typically they'll try to pull back with a cable puller from
Yeah.
first.
They thought.
The only problem is if it's in metal conduit and it's flashed into the metal conduit, it gets welded in there, and then you've got to find it, dig it up, and haul it out.
They thought that they may have realize where it is, between a manhole and the transformer, so
Okay.
they might have a.
That's a relatively short run.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Just backs up my old philosophy. Always put that spare conduit in the
Yeah.
ground.
But redundancy works well.
Yep, never hurts, okay. The only other item, Tom, was, that tree that we have there in Union Street, right near the entrance to the
Yes, it
cemetery.
didn't come down today, but I asked them to put that on the top of the list to
Okay.
get that taken care of.
Yeah, because I mean, they're talking some 50-mile-an-hour wind coming in.
Yeah, no, I told them I want it done before Wednesday.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else, gentlemen? Ask Tom?
Sounds good.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, good, let's, I make a motion to move into executive session for brief discussion on pending litigation. Have a second?
Second.
What, you gotta pull.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Mr. Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick? Mr. Carrier, aye.